Welcome back to GTM Education, and today we're going to look at how to use exam papers to get a grade 9 in GCSE Maths. And this is something that I assume is very, very important because doing past papers, doing exam papers, doing practice papers, doing predicted exam papers are very important to get a grade 9 in GCSE Maths. I'm going to teach you guys how to use these maths exam papers properly to get a grade 9 in GCSE Maths, and it will be very valuable information for you guys that not a lot of students, not a lot of teachers, and not a lot of tutors express to you guys, and the secrets are going to be expressed by me. So make sure you watch it till the end and take everything that I provide you. So in terms of the first parts, it's how to use maths exam papers to get a grade 9 in GCSE Maths properly. And this is very, very important because everyone has access to GCSE Maths exam papers, everyone has access to past papers, everyone has access to predicted papers, everyone has access to the whole things. But at the end of the day, what differentiates someone that gets a grade 9 and someone that gets a grade 5, or someone that gets a grade 4 and someone that gets a grade 8, and so on and so forth, is the fact that how you use these exam papers. And in this video, we'll look at how to use these maths exam papers to get a grade 9 in GCSE Maths. I'll make sure that I'll provide what I know to the best of my knowledge, what I have learnt over the years from doing maths exam papers myself to get a grade 9 in GCSE Maths, but at the same time tutoring students like yourself to get a grade 9 in GCSE Maths, and checked which works for which students, trying different varieties, learning what is important, and I've now gathered all the information into just a literal video for you guys to literally get this advice and act upon it quickly. So I urge you guys to listen carefully, make notes and watch this video, and listen and learn as quickly as possible and take action as fast as possible as well. So in terms of the first thing, is the fact that you should do the exam paper first, and this is a step that I urge a lot of you guys to properly do, because I'll give my students a exam paper to do and they struggle to do it, and they do not even do the exam paper. And something that is very important, exam papers are done on purpose. At the end of the day, you're going to have your exams. They are done to differentiate you between the other students. It is not as if you get 100% in your maths exam papers that you're going to be guaranteed a grade 9. It's not that. It's not like that. Exam papers may be too difficult. So it could be that 50% means that you get a grade 9. At the end of the day, it's you versus the rest of the students. There are going to be some anomalies. There's going to be someone that does get 100%. There's going to be someone that gets 0%, as you can assume in a lot of graphs. As you guys can tell, when you're looking at a subset of data, there are going to be anomalies. So no one's going to really get higher than anyone else. At the end of the day, it's that literal middle chunk that we're looking at, where the most important thing is realized upon that middle parts, where if you have a few anomalies on either side, if you guys can picture what I'm saying in the graph, if you have two anomalies on the right hand side and the left hand side of the spectrum, in the middle is where most of the students are. So if you're at the top of that spectrum in the middle, that's where you guys are able to get a grade 9. That's where it matters. At the end of the day, it's averages, it's percentages, it's brackets that are put in place to differentiate students to get a grade 9. So doing the exam paper first is very, very important, because I see a lot of students, if I have 10 students, I give everyone the same exam paper. I also can see which is a grade 9. I can make my own marking scheme, own boundaries, own grade boundaries. There's a lot of things to be taken into consideration. As you guys can learn from maths, you can learn from upper boundaries, lower boundaries, lower bounds, upper bounds, etc. You know what the real spectrum is. If you know what I'm talking about, it applies in every statistics, especially applies in this world, and it's one of the most important topics. And that's something that can be expressed in GCSE Maths as well. But doing the exam paper first is important, because that's what determines you guys. So if I have 10 students, I give everyone the exam paper. If you do not do the exam paper, if you do not answer the question, then how am I meant to know if you're going to be able to answer it? And secondly, how are you going to be able to differentiate yourself from the others? And at the end of the day, you're putting yourself at blame. You cannot blame others. You can't say the exam paper was hard. At least you have to try. And this is a very important part. Is even if you're stuck on a question, you still have to do the questions. That is a very, very, very important thing. A lot of you guys do this mistake. Something that I gained in my mentality, if you guys want to check out the mentality video, I'll leave a link at the top of the screen. It's a very, very important video. It's how to have a secret mentality to get a grade 9 in GCSE Maths, and that's basically the first step to differentiate you between the rest, and the rest all depends on your mentality. Do check out that video. That's something that I'll leave at the top of the screen, or you can check it in the description, or you can just go and check my channel. I think it's the first video on my channel. It's a very important thing. Even if you're stuck on a question, you still have to do the questions. That's what differentiated me from the other students. Even if the question was difficult, even if it was like a question that wasn't even for GCSEs, I'll still try to do something. It may look like a complete mess. It might look like as if this man has done literally nothing. You just put a little bit of calculations there, here and there, but at least I tried. That's important. Do try it. When it comes to maths, it's basically yes or no. It's not as English where you can write something and hope for the best. This is yes or no, but at the same time, that's something that is underestimated. You can get marks for your working out. That is important. I've seen a lot of videos, I've seen a lot of teachers explaining that this is just a yes or no thing. You either get the right answer, you do not get the answer, but that's not really true. I've got many marks in the past where I just put random calculations here and there, but the teacher spots it and gives me a mark. That's important. It's a working out. It's how you express it. At the end of the day, these exam papers are designed, when you do your GCSEs, they're designed to see how you guys work it out, how you guys use your brains, how you guys analyze and answer a topic. Because there's a major shift from the grade A star to F system to the 9 to 1 system, and the main difference is the word application, and it's how you apply your knowledge. That's all that matters. You may not get full marks in your exam, but as if you apply that knowledge, and if the teacher can work out, the person marking your exam can work out that you've actually tried and done something, that could help you massively in the long run. That is very, very important. I urge you guys to do this. It's a secret tip that a lot of students do not understand. You showed you're working out. It doesn't matter. But do not spend at least 6 hours answering a question when your paper is only 1.5 hours. Do not do that mistake, or 2 hours. Do try it if you have time at the end of the day. I've seen a lot of students, I see this mistake a lot of the time. I see students just sitting doing nothing because they finish all the questions, but if you look at the exam paper, there's so many questions that's missed out. Then what are you doing with that time? At least in that time, you could at least answer those questions, put some working out. You could get that 1 mark, or you could get that 2 marks, could get that 3 marks. And it's 1 or 2 marks that's the difference between a grade 9 and a grade 8, a grade 8 and a grade 7, grade 6 and a grade 5, so on and so forth. It's very, very important you listen to that, you take the action and act on it as quickly as possible. Because even if you're stuck on a question, you still do the question, no matter what it takes. No matter what it takes, do the question. It might come out of nowhere. Sometimes when it comes to a question, this happened to me in the past, and a lot of you guys do experience this. When you're doing a question, all of a sudden your mind goes, you can't do it. But save that at the end. Because after you go through the papers in the exam paper, so say you have 20 questions to do, say you couldn't do the 5th question, if you'd skip that and remind yourself, and if you, something that I do is I bend the paper so that I know at the top, so I know that I haven't done this question, or just write it at the top, at the back of my paper where it says number 5, I have to do that, or put it on somewhere on my paper so I know where to go back to the questions I haven't done. That's something that's important, because you go to question 1, go to question 2, go to question 3, question 5, question 5, you skip that, continue all the way to question 10, question 20, finish the paper. But in those 20 questions, your brain had been going through a lot of work. It literally went through the whole specification of the grade 9 to 1 system. So from there to there, the topics were all around your brain while you're working out questions. Somehow, the topic that you're doing for the question 5 should have maybe got somewhere, and then it comes and clicks at the right moment in time, and then you can do the question. I've experienced this hundreds of times. My mind goes blank for a question, but I'd still do the question at the end of the day, because after I do all the papers, it somehow comes. If it still doesn't come, it doesn't matter. I still try to do something from what I know, hope for the best, but at least you could get that 1 mark, 2 marks, and that's always been the difference between grade 9 and a grade 8, and that's what differentiates you, and that's the way you use exam papers. It's not only the exam papers that you do in the exam, practice exam papers as well. We talked about corporate maths. If you haven't checked out corporate maths, I do urge you to check how to use corporate maths after Seneca to get a grade 9 in GCSE maths. That's a video that I had done previously to this. I'll leave a link at the top of the screen. I do urge you to watch this video. It's a very important video using corporate maths, and that's the final part is something that relates to the math exam papers. So that's very, very important. So do check that video, guys, out. It will be in the description if you would like. It will be at the top of the screen, and you guys know the gist by now. It will be at the channel as well. So that's an important video. It's not only practice the actual exam, it's important to do it for practice papers as well. That's what differentiates you between you and the rest. Make sure you do a question. It's very, very important. Make sure you do a question and take action as quickly as possible. And then what you have to do is go to the answers and mark it. That's very important. Going to the questions, marking it. And the marking process is where the difference, that secret, after what I told you about answering a question, even if you do not know the question at all, just put random things and try to think of something. There should be some idea in your brain. Use that. And don't be ashamed that, the teacher's going to feel that you wrote some random stuff. Don't worry about that. Have that in your brain and just think. Something must pop out. Just note that, jot that somewhere. And there's many occasions where I just jot something at the top of this paper, maybe that could be the thing, and I just jot it at the top of the paper, and the teacher's marking that part of the section. Because the teacher's job is to look at everything. We have to make the markers look at everything. They will look at everything. That's the whole purpose. So it doesn't matter where you write, if you jot something at the top of your paper, if you jot something at the bottom of your paper, just as a simple note for you, but leave it there. That's important. And you should go to the answers and mark it. That's a very important thing. But speaking of one thing, I think I haven't stated this point in this presentation, but something that I know that a lot of students do not do is when it comes to maths exam papers, is jotting things at certain moments in time and then they cross it out after. Only when you know that for a fact that it's crossed out, cross it out. That crossed out could be, I've seen occasions where the teachers mark my crossed out work and they say that you could have got 3 marks there, and since you crossed it out, you can't do anything. So don't cross out work only when you think, and when you cross it out, don't scribble across it. Put one line across it so the teachers know, they have that benefit of a doubt. That's an important word, benefit of a doubt. It could be crossed out or it could not be, but just put a line, just one line across each word that you think is wrong. Maybe that could be useful. You never know. So when it comes to the answers, this is the marking system, is the difference between getting a grade 5 and a grade 9, what differentiates the students, how you mark it. And this is the important part. Doing the exam paper doesn't really matter. For me, I enjoy doing exam papers. I just love testing myself. But at the end of the day, is the marking that is very, very important. I think a lot of you guys like to do exam papers rather than revise. I think that's something that is very, very... Everyone likes to test themselves. That's why exam papers are there. So the important thing about exam papers is fun testing yourself and doing the exam paper, which I've heard a lot from my students. I felt it myself. Do you rather like exam papers, doing it, or learning for an exam paper? That's two different things. Do you like doing the exam papers itself, or do you like learning the exam papers? I want to hear that in the comment section below. It's something that way you can refresh your mind a little bit, do something and then come back to the screen so that it'll keep you refreshed and focused in the lesson. So I'll give you that 1 second. Going to the answers and marking it is the thing that I was talking about. It's very, very important. And this is the marking process which we're going to look at. So in terms of marking, while you're marking and you get something wrong, mark it wrong so that you know. That's an important thing. I see a lot of students, I tell them to mark your own exam paper. They mark it as in they don't want to make themselves look bad and they don't mark anything right. It's something that I see common. The students don't want to make themselves look as if they're dumb, or if they feel bad about themselves, they don't feel sorry for themselves, so they don't put that as they got something wrong. So that's something that I see a lot of the time. But if you get something wrong, mark it as wrong. That is important. And the important part is, even though it's 1 mark that you miss, you still mark it wrong. Some students I see, they state that it's only 1 mark that I missed, so I didn't really take action of that. But what did I tell you guys from the start? 1 mark is the difference between a grade 9 and a grade 8. You might think that this guy is going to extent, he's going to into it to a large extent, but I'm not messing about. I've seen many students that come to me and tell sir, I should have got that 1 mark, or I got a grade 9. So I should have got that 1 mark, I got a grade 4. It's a 1 mark that could come and haunt you at the end of the day. I've experienced it in the past. I've experienced it where 1 mark had prevented me from getting this, prevented me from getting that. So it's something that I tell you guys to listen. And when you get something wrong, that 1 mark could be different. When you mark it wrong, it's something that you know you made a mistake. And when it comes to marking your work, make sure you use a different color pen, or something that highlights it, or something that highlights that you got this wrong. That's important, because I urge you guys to do that. Making sure you get something wrong, you highlight it with another color pen, or you use another pen for marking. Your teachers use a green pen or a red pen to mark your work. Do something like that. Use a pink color pen or a purple color pen, or something which you can differentiate that is a mistake. Do that. Some people just mark it in black pen and you write in black pen as well. Then which one's the marked stuff, which one's not the thing that is not marked. It's a long job. Just finding it, that's just waste time at the end of the day. So marking a different color pen. If you got a black pen, marking a blue pen is very simple. It's 2 different color pens, and it should be useful to differentiate the mistakes that you made and something that shows that you have made a mistake. So after you finish your marking, you go back to the start of the page, and that's something that is important. So when you finish your exam paper, you go back to the start of the exam paper. That's something that I urge you guys to do. And then you understand why your answer was wrong after looking at the corrections. So you make corrections. This is important. So when you get a question wrong, you write down what the answer was. So say you're doing a corporate maths paper, you get this like straight line graphs wrong, and the explanation's there. Your answer is something different, so you wrote something as a completely different thing. What is shown on the mark scheme, you completely copy and paste that onto your paper. That's very important. A lot of you guys might not like to print your paper. A lot of you guys like to do it on your iPads. The technology has advanced to a large extent. So another easy way is to just screenshot that screen and take a picture of it and put it on your paper. You can add it to your PDF, or you can do some editing and add it on if you want to go technology wise. But if you're doing on paper, just blatantly copy and paste what you got wrong. Doesn't matter. After you finish marking, you go back and make corrections properly. That's important. Making corrections, that's what is important. With another color pen, making corrections and then understanding why your answer was wrong. That is something that is important. Understanding why your answer was wrong after looking at the corrections. What is different between your answer? What is different between the mark scheme? Why did you lose a mark? Why did they get full marks? That's important. Do you get the ones where there's like a work solution? That's more interesting to utilize. In corporate maths, most of them are work solutions. In the mark scheme, it does show a work solution as well, but the Edexo marking scheme is a little bit more rigid, a little bit more, it's difficult to see the working out because everything's typed up, but it should be, you can see the 3 steps that you should be able to compare what the 2 things are. And the Edexo marking scheme, it also says on the right hand side, like gives notes what's being done, so read everything carefully and write it down in a simple way. You don't have to spend 6 hours just copying the mark scheme. If you literally got the whole paper wrong, do you think that's the right thing to do? I don't think so. But if you want to spend the time, it could be a good thing to do at the same time as well. But understanding why your answer was wrong after looking at the corrections is important. Compare your work to the answers and make notes on why you got it wrong if you need to. So say you compare your work, you compare the answers. So you say you missed something here, you could write that, you should have moved the equal sign, you should have moved the x to the other side of the equal sign, or you should have substituted this instead of that. Understand what I'm saying? So you got to make the notes so you can see what you look at the mark scheme, look at your work, what did they do different, write that down. You don't have to copy and paste the mark scheme. If you don't want to, you can make notes as well, what you should have done. Because you can probably get everything right, and then it's just that 1 mark missed. So that's just a waste of time. Just copy and paste the mark scheme again. So you can just put an arrow, show that you made a mistake here, suggesting that you should have done this instead of that. Then that should be suitable. Because the marking scheme is something that is important, and the important thing about this is don't quickly compare, don't rush until you properly understand on how you got it wrong. A lot of students hate the marking process. Even I do hate the marking process as well. It's a long time, it's a lot of times. But people spend like 1 minute to just mark, but spend 1.5 hours on the paper. If you get everything right, that's suitable. But if you get most of them wrong, then what's the purpose of it? What's the purpose of you doing the exam paper? That is why I urge you to don't quickly compare, don't rush until you properly understand how you got it wrong. Take your time. That marking is the important thing. That is very, very important. Get the answers. If you got it wrong, write it down, make notes, listen carefully, watch it carefully, look at the videos, understand it. If you properly understand that, you have to properly understand why you got it wrong, and that's where the learning process takes place. If you can learn why something is wrong, then you would be able to get it right the next time. So that is an important step. So now we're going to look at the next part of this presentation / video, and that is reflection. And this is an important word. So you've done your marking process. That could maybe take you 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. You make your corrections. That's important. But this is where the process gets a little bit longer, and that's the reflection. And the first part is that on the questions that you only get wrong, even if it is 1 mark, you meant to do find a similar question from the textbook exercise. So many of you guys may ask me, so in the previous video, so if you guys haven't checked that video out, the corporate maths video, and how to use corporate maths after you use Seneca, why are we not using the textbook exercise? Why are we using only the exam style questions, the practice questions? But this is where the textbook exercise comes into play. So you get a question wrong, you know the topic of the question, you got it wrong, and then if you got, say, a question wrong in straight line graphs, there's also, so you got it wrong after you've done the exam style questions. So what do? You go and use the straight line graphs textbook exercise, take the information from there. There's similar questions in the textbook as well. You don't have to just use the corporate maths one. There are so many other textbooks. If you would like, I can put like a whole list of the best textbooks at the end of my screen, in the description, so you can check that out in there as well. But finding a similar question and doing it is where it matters. And if you can't find a similar question on the textbook, you can redo the question that you got wrong. That's another thing that I urge you. But when you do a question, you do it on another paper by covering the question up and by not cheating. So what I mean by not cheating is a lot of students just basically look at what the mistakes they made, just literally copy and paste it and say that they've done the question. Cover the question up, put it somewhere else, maybe do it 30 minutes later because you might remember the answer, then do a question, or you can even edit the question yourself, put a few different numbers instead of the numbers that are there. And so if it said like something like coordinates 1, 2, you can change it to coordinates 4, 5, and it translated, or something like it reflected on the x-axis. It's the difference if you change the numbers that are there. Do you understand what I mean? So you don't have to have the same question, try it with different numbers, and you should be able to work the answer out. That's important. Do not cheat yourself. At the end of the day, it's you that is losing. It's all about you. This is where the mentality comes into play. Check that video out. It's very, very important. But doing another paper on another paper, so do not do it on the same exam paper because you literally can see the question, and cover it up using a paper and write it on your notebook or in your book, or on your piece of paper or in your notes somewhere. But do not cheat. Cover the question up. Cover your answers and your mark scheme up, and answer it so that you'll be able to answer the question. So not covering the question up, I made a grammatical error there, but covering the answers. So you know what I mean by covering the question up, so you only can see the question and not the answers and the mark scheme, and then you redo that question. That's very important, because you can just simply just look at the answers and look at your own answer and literally copy and paste it, and then you think that you revised, you think that you learned, but at the end of the day it wasn't something that I recommend as learnings. It's pretty much just cheating yourself. So it's something that is important, and if you still get the question wrong, keep learning, understanding, and doing the question again. So you say you do it again and you still get it wrong, that means the learning process hasn't happened. So what you do is you go and check out other learning videos. So if you want, I can do more and more videos on which websites you can use to learn, which are useful to understand. You can go back to Seneca Learning, so you haven't checked out the Seneca Learning video. That's a very, very good video. Like the video that I explained using Seneca is a very good video, but using Seneca as a tool to get a grade 9 in GCSE Maths, a secret tool that not a lot of students know about, is another video that I recommend to a large extent. Do check that video out. It is very, very important. They're all at the top of your screen. If you click the I button, it should show all the cards that are there, so that I'll be able to put 5 cards. So I'll put 5 of the important cards that I recommend, and you guys could check those videos out. So use these devices, use these websites, use these opportunities to do the question again, and then do a similar question if you find one in another textbook exercise, somewhere else, something that is similar to the question you just done. And if you get that question right, then you have learnt the process. Also in Seneca Learning, there's exam questions for you guys to do that there as well. There should be a similar question, because at the end of the day, the exam AQA or Edexcel or OCR, they're not going to find another exam paper. They can only be within your specification. So a question like that will be available in your exam. And at the end of the day, it's a specification. This is the boundary for the exam boards to ask you questions on. That's why a lot of teachers make predicted papers, because they know pretty much what it's going to be like. The exam papers can't do anything different. The teachers can make their own exam papers. The students can make their own exam papers. So the resources are literally completely there. You don't even have to pay for resources. They're literally there, a lot of good ones for free. So use those and learn and understand and do those questions again. But if you're still struggling, to ask your teacher, struggling with the question, you can ask your teacher, you can go to your tutor, you can go to your friend for help. Do that. Don't be like, oh, it's not coming to my head, I won't be able to survive, I can't do this, it's too difficult for me, I cannot do this. Just leave it. Just pray that the question doesn't come up. That's a lot of students. I hear that word. I pray that the question does not come up in the exam, and the first question that comes up is that question. So don't do that mistake. Don't have regrets. Struggling, ask your teacher. Don't be ashamed. This is where the mentality video comes back into play. Don't use your teacher as much as possible. Check that video. It's a good video. Use them as much as possible. At the end of the day, you're looking at yourself. So these are the things that I recommend when it comes to doing these important things for reflection, learning, taking advice, and acting upon it as quickly as possible. So looking at this reflection, so you get the question that you got wrong. Even if it's 1 mark, you can see the questions that you got wrong. Do a similar question from a textbook exercise. If you can't find a similar question on the textbook exercise, redo the question that you got wrong. Do it on another paper by covering the question up and not cheating, so you cover the answers up so that you can only see the question, and do not cheat yourself by you can cover it up with a piece of paper and then you just lift the paper and then you quickly just look at that and jot it. I see a lot of students doing that. Don't do that sort of things. You're cheating yourself at the end of the day. Do it on another paper by covering the question up and by not cheating. That's what I just mentioned. Even if you get the question wrong, keep learning, understanding, and doing the question again. That's the learning process. That is what learning is. You keep trying until you get something right. If you can change something that was wrong right, you have learnt it. If you cannot swim, if you couldn't swim but you now can swim, you've learnt it. That's what learning is. So that's important. That's the way you can get the most out of using exam papers. I've taught you guys how to use the exam paper, what to exactly do when you're doing an exam paper, and then how to reflect on it, how to use the marking system, use the marking scheme, and use the marking tricks and techniques to get a grade 9 in GCSE Maths. And that's where the difference is. The grade 9 students reflect. They always think, oh, why did I lose this 1 mark? Why did I lose this 10 marks? Why did I lose this 5 marks? Why did I miss this question? They want to know why, and they want to prevent that happening. That's what they do. The grade 9 students do not like to get things wrong, so they keep revising, keep learning until they get those things right. That's the way it is. And what your option is, you don't have to be the best student, because the best student that gets a grade 9 and someone that was literally just 1 mark into the grade 9 boundary, they both still get grade 9 at the end of the day. So you don't need to be the best student. You don't need to get 100%. That's not the aim. The aim is to be at the top of the others. And if you can get into that boundary for a grade 9, you got a grade 9. I wouldn't say that I was the smartest student, but I got a grade 9. There were students than me that used to get 100% every exam. I was one of those students, but I've seen students that do not really care. I do not mind about getting 1 mistake or getting 2 mistakes. That's not the problem. The problem is that you have to be ahead of the other students. If you get that 1 mistake and you get that 2 mistakes, but if your friends, if your other students get that 1 mistake, 2 mistake, it doesn't matter. But if you get a mistake but your friends got that right and your other students got that right, that's where the problem lies. That means you're 1 below those students. So you have to be ahead of them. So you have to get those questions right. That's why a lot of teachers say, oh, do all the grade 5 questions first, get all the grade 4 questions done and dusted, because that's where you can at least get grade 5. Then do the grade 6 questions, then do the grade 7 questions, then do the grade 8 questions, and you keep moving up and up and up, and then you'll be able to get grade 9. That's the way to do it. But when it comes to exam papers, looking specifically at it, you do an exam paper, it's the best thing. It's one of the best revision resources, because you do an exam paper, and if you do not you don't have a revision guide, don't have nothing, and you literally just do an exam paper, nothing else in your hand, just do an exam paper, completely just trusting your knowledge with no other help at all. You do an exam paper and you get literally 40% out of the whole exam. You get literally most of it wrong, you only get 40% right. But that 40% you got right, you know that you know those topics. The 60% you got wrong is what you got to work on. So you don't have to waste your time working on the things that you already know. You only have to work on the things that you got wrong. And that's where you use this video to learn. You reflect on it. The tricks that I teach you, this reflection video, the tricks that I teach you in how to mark a video, the tricks that I teach you in doing the paper itself, it's important, and it should help you get a grade 9 in GCSE Maths. So, as you can tell from the how to use exam papers to get a grade 9 Maths in GCSE Maths video, if you enjoyed that video, we're going to now change to another video in terms of a new video that I'm going to upload, which is the best websites to use to get a grade 9 in GCSE Maths. Some of the websites I've already hinted, such as Seneca Learning, Corporate Maths, but there are some other few ones that I recommend to use. So there will be a whole video on this explaining the best ones to use, so you don't have to waste your time looking at which website to use, The certain amount of websites that I believe that you just need to get a grade 9 to get a GCSE Maths. I'll show those 5 websites or 6 websites or those 7 websites or those 10 websites that I believe is good enough to get a grade 9 in GCSE Maths. Don't have to spend time searching, researching. I'm doing all that work for you. I've had the experience of teaching students. I have the experience of doing it myself, and which ones I found valuable, which ones I found useful, which ones I actually used to get a grade 9 in GCSE Maths. So this will be the video. So that will be on your screen. That has been on your screen all this time. So enjoy this video, and I would urge you to watch the video on the screen because that's an important video. If you enjoyed this one, and you will enjoy this one to get a grade 9 in GCSE Maths, I highly recommend it. So do check it out. So if you want to take a break, pause the video, then click on it later, or click on the video and click it to your watch later. But check this video out. Thank you for watching.